Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of our newest series, Draft Day Dynasties, where we'll be showing off the latest releases at Wolverine Studios and hopefully winning some games while we're at it if I'm fortunate enough here. I appreciate you guys joining us live on Twitch amid an admittedly busy day of college hoops. I hope none of you were too invested in a certain team from Iowa out there that met an untimely end. And to those of you catching up with us later on Twitch, YouTube, wherever you find us, we appreciate all of you in the community, and we appreciate you joining us and checking out this new thing we're doing here. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is C. Jackson Cowart, and I'm the new community manager here at Wolverine Studios as of last Friday, which is also the same day as the release of Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2022, the game that you're looking at right now, and the game that's already taken way too many hours of my life and will continue to do so for at least the next 11 to 12 months there, probably until the latest release. So if you haven't played this game yet, for one, I'm glad you're checking out the stream and seeing what it's all about. I highly recommend it. This is the game for me personally that hooked me into the whole Wolverine Studios franchise and honestly sports simulations as a whole. And in my opinion, this game, this year's version, is easily the deepest and most refined of any of the college basketball games that I've played. And I've been playing this game for almost a decade now. So, again, I can't recommend it enough. And in this first episode, we're going to run through creating a new association from scratch, and all the new options for that. There's some really cool toggles this year that let you customize your experience in a way that's a little bit different than in past years. And then we'll also check out the roster for this new team. We'll check out the coaching staff and just kind of see what we're working with this probably a mid-major team that we're going to hop into here. I always find those to be the most fun. So, and then we'll stop just ahead of the start of recruiting. Recruiting is the meat and potatoes of this game. It's the most fun part of this game. It's one of the most fun things you can do in any sports simulation. So we'll get set up to go right on the doorstep of recruiting, and then we'll save that for a next stream. So I'll jump into all of that shortly, but before I do just want to use this as a chance to let everybody know about our new Discord server for Wolverine Studios. If you're not in it already, go ahead and join. You can find the link on my Twitter, on the official Wolverine Studios Twitter. You can find it on the forums. You can probably find it by Googling. People are talking about it. So go ahead and hop into the Discord server if you're not already. We have, I think, about 100 people in there. We had our 100 and 101st members join a couple days ago, threw a little party for that. So if you're already in, awesome. Thank you for joining the Discord, and thank you for checking us out here on this stream. If you're not, highly recommend popping in, even just to say hi, see what the game's all about. If you're new, if you're a longtime veteran and just new to the Discord server, check that out. Let us know what you like about the games, what you think could be improved about the games, what you want to see on these streams that you're watching right now. Let us know how your dynasties are doing. I mean, I'm not the only one here doing a dynasty with this game, surely. So pop in there and chat with the community, get to know the other people playing this game. We're also on Twitter. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, obviously, and the original Wolverine Studios forums, which is where I would imagine most of you found this game, and will continue to be a home and a hub for the community. So if you're not on any of those, hop on all of them. We'll also be joining the Reddit space here shortly, so just keep an eye out for that and other ways to connect with other community members here. So, like I said, this is the first stream in this Draft Day Dynasties series where we're going to kind of run through the latest games. This one, college basketball. We'll do some episodes on this game and this association that we're about to start here. And we'll check out some other games as well through the course of it. But this is also my first stream on here. So, let me know what you like, what you don't like, if there's anything you want to see in the future. And if we do run into any technical hiccups here, it'll be a little comedy for all of us. So, all right. Enough about all that. Let's just go ahead and hop right into the gameplay here. So, going to go ahead and hit New Association. So you have a few options here. The one that I tend to always do, and the one that's the most common, I think, is Challenge Mode. That's where you hop right in, take over as a coach. You're, beholden to the demands of your athletic director. And it's not easy, especially if you have it on hard settings. I have definitely been fired in this game more times than I would like to admit. So you can do that. You can also do sandbox mode, universe mode, if you want more control over the entire universe, I guess. You want to run different teams. You want to kind of have more of a bird's eye view on this. You want to simulate and just see what it looks like. Test this game's incredible simulation engine. Go for it. And then multiplayer mode deserves a shout out too. If you like online leagues, I'm in an online league for this game, for technically the 21 version, but it's moving to 22 CBGM, which is run by Chris over at GM Games. Cannot recommend that league enough. It is an incredible league. It's free. I hopped in recently. It's one of the better decisions I've made. If you're not in that league and you're curious about it, even if you're a veteran of this game or new, I would recommend checking it out because it's a great way to learn about this game and to connect with other people in the community. So we're just going to start here with a challenge mode. And right here, you see the settings right away. We'll do save name. We will call this Draft Day Dynasty. And then, well, actually, we'll do that. We'll call this. And this is just mostly for you, for your own logging purposes here, starting in 2021. That sounds good to me. You can change all of these settings here. And a cool new addition that Gary added, which I don't know if this was feedback from the community or just out of his own brain, but it was a great call, is being able to change the round names. I know there's some people like to change the things in this game to look, a little more similar to maybe what you would be watching on TV nowadays. Naming your rounds, things that you find particularly sweet, or if you see a final element to your semifinals, maybe you can name that whatever you want. So great addition here. I'll go ahead and leave this as is. I'm just going to leave all these here as is. We'll play in our own little fictional universe here. So the association settings, custom file here. I'm not going to use a custom mod in this game. I'm just going to go the default files, but I cannot recommend enough looking into the community mods for this game. The modders do such an excellent job of building out this entire universe in a very immersive way. For those of you who maybe want your teams to look a certain way, have a certain name, have a certain logo, that's all done for you in the modding community. It's super easy. Just check out the Wolverine Forums Studio and the Wolverine Studios forums, and download a mod straight from there. It is very simple. If you're into that sort of thing, it enhances the experience quite a bit, and I can't emphasize enough, it takes like 5 minutes. So we'll do default for here. If you look at this rating scale here, this is sort of your preference. If you like to do a 1 to 10 scale, keep things a little foggier, or if you want to do a 1 to 100 scale and have a bit more specificity with your player ratings and be able to differentiate, is this guy a 70 shooter, a 74 shooter, that sort of thing. And then the 1 to 100 real scale will do the same thing, but it scales it much lower relative to maybe what their professional ratings would be. So this is, you can integrate this game with the Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball version. Highly recommend doing that if you're a fan of both games. But I tend to like to do this if I'm doing a college-only play, just because it gives me a sense of, all right, who's a 90 in my game, even if he's not necessarily a great pro. So I'm going to come down here for the purposes of this one. I'm going to turn off illegal recruiting. I don't want any of those other coaches to be doing nefarious things that I would never want to do on a stream like this. I'm more ethical than that. And then a couple new settings here. Declare for the draft after 1, 2, 3, or 4 seasons. If you don't like the way that the rules are in real life and in this game, and you kind of want to adjust it to maybe more of an old school setting, you can do that right here. And then the number of players declaring for the draft. You can do less than average, more than average, if you kind of want players to stay for 2, 3, 4 years, even if they have the option to leave early. So I'll leave those both at average. I'll turn up the recruiting difficulty, though, just to give us a little bit of a challenge. Same thing with the job pressure here. I'm going to put the fire under me and make sure that I'm accountable for my actions. And then this toggle right here might be the single most important new addition to this game, and that's the modern-day transfer portal. This is such a huge addition by Gary and the dev team. It changes the game. It brings sort of a free agency-like feel to this game, which we've already seen in college basketball. I mean, if you turn on the TV today, tomorrow, the next day, and you're watching games, you'll notice how many transfers there are making a massive impact in college hoops. And that's because of the new rules in large part. The old rules, you had to sit out a year if you transferred. It really limited the amount of players that were willing to change their situations. But now, if a guy's not getting enough playing time, maybe he misses home a little bit, he doesn't have to sit out at all. He can just go right away, play for his new team that year. So it really changes the way that you approach recruiting, changes the way that you approach your budget and how much you have to save for later in the year. It changes the way that you even maybe approach certain players on your team. You used to look and underclassmen, kind of wanting them to develop and setting up the next tier of guys for your school. You don't even really have to do that anymore if you're dedicated to the transfer portal, but it's risky because everybody can do the same thing that you're doing in chasing those transfers. So definitely recommend putting this on. Even if you're a little leery of it, you don't love the way that college basketball is nowadays, I would give it a shot because it really changes the experience in this game. So we can go ahead and move on to the next setting here and start making our coach. So let's see, I like to do, was it 37? No, 33. That's my guy. So that's me. They modeled that after me. And they also modeled this after me. Got the nice little zip up, quarter zip there. Looking good. Looking not too professional for the college ranks here, but ready to get down to work here. So this is all obviously going to be different for you. Age doesn't make a huge difference. You can kind of set it to whatever you feel like is your realistic setting. I'm going to be a young gun here, hopping into the college ranks, one of the younger coaches in D1. Now, my dream job is I would love to, let's see if I can find it here. I would love to end up in this game coaching the North Carolina Rams. I am personally an alumnus of North Carolina, of a school from North Carolina with similar attributes to this school here. And if you set this, it does sort of set you up for a potential path to coach that team down the line. So we'll set that as mine here. And then the personality traits, hopefully this doesn't reveal too much about my actual personality traits. This was how I treated my college experience. Don't want to do too high of discipline here because there's some players that are a little turned off by that. And look, I don't want to be a stickler to those guys. We welcome all work ethics on campus here. And then integrity. I'm a high integrity coach, like I mentioned before. No illegal recruiting. I'm not into that kind of stuff. So temper, it is all smiles. So this philosophy page is largely important for your coach, but you don't have to worry too much about this right now. If you're getting a bit overwhelmed trying to make a new coach, look, you don't have to get this perfect. You will be able to change this once you're in the settings. It's not really going to affect that much until you get closer to the season. A lot of this is just based on how you play when you're simulating the games and kind of the way that your sets and your players. It influences, obviously, something like pace is huge, crashing the boards. It all matters, but you don't have to worry too much about setting this right now. So I am going to just loosely do this here. I do want the fans to know what sort of coach they're getting here. So player preference, I do like to have veterans who know the system that I'm running. Like to run a bit of a deep rotation so that I can play really aggressive defense. I do like to set this up high. Now be careful when you do this, especially in this year's version. One of the new changes to the game engine is defensive intensity. Now it used to be, when you did defensive intensity, it was a little bit overpowered there. It had a bit too much of an effect just kind of based on the way that fatigue worked and the way that it affected the opponents. That's been remedied in this new game in the sim engine. So you have to be careful. If you're pushing too much on defense, it could really cost you, and it might not have the effect that you hope it would based on how it worked in previous years. So I'm still willing to roll the dice and be really aggressive, try to push for steals and turnovers, but do keep that in mind in this year's version. Hop back in here. Pace, I go back and forth between high and low based on my personnel, so I'll probably change that once we see the roster. Same thing with crashing the boards as it goes with pace. But I do like to crash the boards. When I coach, I tend to be high in possessions. I want to get as many possessions as I can and let my guys do what they can with it. Full court defense, we'll probably either ramp this way up or ramp it way down. But for now, we'll settle into here. And then zone defense. You're either a zone guy or you're not. And I am a zone guy. So hop right into skill settings. This is pivotal. This is a crucial setting. This sets the foundation for your entire coaching career. So don't gloss past this. You can use these handy pre-made models, which are really nice for giving you your own cap. So if I set amateur, for example, I start with 40s across the board. I can go down. I can bring that down to 25, gain myself some new points, maybe put that in recruiting. I tend to like to do custom. I do a mix between amateur and average. I just like to have a few extra points to open up some jobs for me, because the initial job selection that we're going to go to right here is based on how good your coach is. So you do have to remember, when you set your coaching settings, you don't have to take the best job on the board. I think it can be a bit of a trap to go, well, I don't want to be overpowered early on, so I really need to set rookie or amateur and just live with those parameters. Well, you don't have to. You can go custom and you can set whatever you want. So for me, I'm going to set this to 30. I'm not an offensive wizard here, but I do know a little bit more about the defensive element of basketball. Scouting, I'm only 35 years old in this game. I haven't been around enough years to be able to really know what I'm looking for. But I do know somewhat how to develop a player. And my favorite thing to do when I'm setting this up is to give myself a nice boost in recruiting. I think that that's the most fun way to play this game, is to have a bit of an edge in recruiting, be a bit behind in the rest of it, and really try to build the foundation of a program from scratch. So I set those here. The maximum level, look, it's very tempting to just go 100 across the board. I know we all want to be the greatest coach of all time. None of us are going to be, but this is our own little fictional world here. So I'm going to set this to 90. My offensive handicap here is going to follow me the rest of my life. But again, I'm a little better on the defensive end. With all those years of wisdom, I do think my scouting will get better, but maybe not elite. I'll always have a bit of a blind spot there. But then player development and recruiting ability, that's what it's all about, right? Connect with these players, develop them. So let's go. Let's see what jobs we have available here. So if you sort by prestige, you can kind of get an idea of what schools we're looking at here. So we have some decent offers near the top of the board. And when you're looking at this screen, it can be a bit overwhelming to just see all of these offers, and you don't really know what you're getting with each coach. With each team that you're going to coach, and this sets the foundation for your entire playthrough. So there's 3 things that you really need to consider when you're choosing what your first job is, besides just prestige and the school. You may have your favorite school, and that's great, but there are 3 super important things that you need to consider. One of them is facilities and academics. So you're only going to be able to get players to your school based on the things that you can pitch to them. And if you're a veteran to this game, you know them by heart, right? But if you're new, facilities and academics are 2 of the more important things for a smaller school, particularly academics. And so for some of these schools, you're not going to be able to compete when it comes to facilities. You're not going to be able to compete when it comes to conference prestige or school prestige. But if you can get a nice academic school and you can shoot for players that have a 3.5 GPA, a 4.0 GPA, that can be a really nice edge when you're really struggling to have an advantage in any of these other areas. So when you look at academics, it looks like none of these schools are really too proud of the non-athletic side of their campus. So facilities is another one. You look at Ohio. It's a small school, not going to have a great shot of being able to recruit a lot of players in a very fertile area, but if you have decent facilities, you might be able to keep up a little bit better than a school that does not have those same resources. So that's one thing you should really consider, is facilities and academics. Another thing is right here, initial salary. This is huge and can easily be overlooked by people who are joining this game and trying to figure out what school they want to take. This sets how much you can pay your coaches and how much money you have for recruits. And that is everything. Money goes a long way in this game and in life, but in this game as well. If you don't have enough money to buy reports, you're not going to know what prospects are interested in coming to your school. You're not going to be able to visit them at home or invite them to your campus, especially if they're out of state. And with the transfer portal being such a huge part of this game, if you don't have enough money left at the end, you're not going to be able to compete in this sort of free agency element of this game. So this is massive. It also impacts, like I mentioned, your coaching staff and how much you can pay your coaches. And good coaches set the foundation for a good program. So when you're looking here, most schools are going to be able to offer similar to the other schools in their prestige range, right? So you're looking down here at 168 per year, 168. These are all roughly the same. But if you scroll way down here, it's 126. So now I have to consider, do I really want to be starting at a deficit just to play, just to coach at a school like this? Even the ones that maybe do have better facilities but less money to be able to chase those recruits. So let's see what options we have here. I was kind of and the third thing you want to consider, which goes into the school I was looking for here, is pipeline. And this is not one that I think that many players are considering relative to some of these other things. It's like, yeah, okay, I know about this rating, I know about the budget. But the pipeline system is a sneaky, underrated element of this game. When you recruit players from different states, it adds up to your pipeline score, whatever you want to call it. It checks how many players you have from these states. And if you have a certain number of players from a state, you can create a pipeline there, and it makes it easier to reach out to more players in that state. So you may think, okay, great, that works if I want to stay at the same school for forever, but what if I want to keep hopping jobs? Well, look at my dream job, right? My dream job is to be the coach of the North Carolina Rams. If I want to be the coach of the North Carolina Rams, I should probably create inroads in the state of North Carolina. So I was looking around here to see if my lovely friends from Charlotte decided that they wanted to offer me a job, but I don't think they're going to. And that is a bummer because I love coaching Charlotte. Let me look here to see if there's any other schools. If you guys have any recommendations, by the way, fire them away in the chat. Or I'll see if I can pop open this Discord channel here to see if any of you guys have any ideas for schools. A few of you were tossing out ideas earlier. I've always kind of wondered what it would be like to do a playthrough at Hawaii. And I know they're not offering me a ton of money. And I know that it's going to cost me a lot of money to bring prospects to Hawaii. But guess what? Everybody on the Big Island is mine. They're not going anywhere. We are going to build a powerhouse at Hawaii. I think that's what I'm going to do here. Let me hop just to make sure that none of you guys have any crazy ideas. But yeah, I think Hawaii is going to be our start here. So when you're ready to make that commitment, you go ahead, you just click that. And they're offering me a head coaching job. That is important to check, by the way. You can turn this off, and you can get some real nice schools interested in hiring you as their third assistant or their second assistant. It can be a fun way to play that way and really work your way up, but I'd like to just hop right into the action here as a head coach. So we do have these higher schools offering us, but I did kind of game my settings a little bit to be a little too good at recruiting relative to what I probably should be. So let's see if we can make this work in Hawaii. So once you feel good about that, go ahead and finalize, and we will get this league started. And while we're waiting, please hop into the chat here and voice anything you see here, any questions that you might have, or anything you want me to check out here, or just any thoughts on the stream. Go ahead and post that in Twitch. And like I mentioned, please connect with us on Discord or the forums or Twitter. Anywhere we are, we want you to be there as well. So we're just about loaded on here. And I can log in right here. So once you've gone through all of the coach creations, you've set your philosophies, you've set your skill settings, and you know what job you're going to do, the first thing you should do is check out your roster and see what you're actually working with here. So before we do that, if you're a returning member to this game, the first thing that you're probably noticing is this new dark UI. This was a bit of a touchy subject, I would say, in the community early on. There were a lot of people that were very attached to the way that the old game looked, didn't really want to move over to the dark UI. And if that's still how you feel, I empathize with you, but I think most people are really embracing this dark look after trying it out in First Access and having about a week to play it in the game. Personally, I love it. I love the dark skin here that we have on here, this UI skin that they've changed over for all of the games. The dev team making that decision, and I love it. I mean, it makes it feel to me less like I'm playing on an office screen, which is sort of a niche appeal in its own way, and more like I'm actually immersed in the game itself. And it's just a small change, but once you've gone to this look, it's really tough to play an old version and go, man, this is such a difference. I wish I could put this skin on the old one. So I think it's a welcome change. Let me know in the comments here or elsewhere what you guys think of it. But I really do enjoy that big change, and that was a big one this year. So the first thing that you should do, like I said, you should check your roster, check your coaching staff, kind of acquaint yourself with your program. But the number one thing I would recommend doing now, always, and forever in this game is check your emails. I know that's not a real sexy thing to say, but you should always check your emails because your emails will have pretty much every important bit of information that you need coming across your desk from your athletic director, from recruits, from players. It's all going to come in your emails. So we can check right here. These are always the same emails to start. I'm going to kind of run through these real fast, fly through these because if you start the game, you'll see all the same ones. But just some helpful tips letting you know what's coming up next. Athletic director letting us know that we need to schedule. I don't think it's going to be too hard to get people to come play in Hawaii, but I guess we'll see. And then letting us know our basketball budget. So $184,000. We already had an idea that we might be getting some money in here, but not as much as some of these other schools. And once they're done paying the assistants, it looks like we'll be left with $64,000. So that's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. So now that we know that, the first thing I would recommend doing after you check your emails is check your roster. When you're playing a game like this, it's a bit like opening up a Christmas present when you first look at your roster. And when you pick one of these lower profile schools, you're not quite sure whether you're going to get a lump of coal or not. But it doesn't look like we did here. Looks like we got a pretty nice present here. We got a couple of 3.5 stars, 4 3-star guys. Looks like they're spread out positionally pretty well. Yeah, decently well. We got a center here. Our only real workable center is going to be an issue. That I can already tell. But you want to take a look here and see just kind of what the general composition of your team is. So I like to sort by star rating. Just kind of gives me an idea. All right, who are my dudes, right? Who are the guys that I'm going to actually be relying on and sort of the foundation of my program. So I also like to sort by potential because that gives me an idea. All right, who's coming down the pike? Who am I eventually going to be building this team around? The first thing that catches my eye here is Amari Charity. So he's a freshman, but he's already 3.5 stars. His potential is 4.5 stars, which is very intriguing, especially at a school like Hawaii. And let's see, what is he really good at? So you can check out his player profile here, which is really well done aesthetically. I love all the things that are shown here on this screen. Kind of an interesting mix here, really a jack of all trades and a master of none. And he is not really feeling Hawaii. This is not where he wants to be. He's the first person that I've ever known that wants to get the heck out of Honolulu. So that could be a problem. But if we give him enough playing time, I mean, he's a freshman. If we start him right away, which I would imagine we would, we should hopefully be able to solve that issue before too long. So sort by the star ratings to kind of get an idea of, what are we expecting this year? I would say we're probably going to be decent if we have this many mid-star guys. And then I like to sort by the actual attributes to see, all right, what are my guys specifically good at? So if you take a look here, a couple guys that are decent at scoring inside, but they're not the ones we're going to want to be relying on. And once you get to kind of the meat of our team, nobody knows how to score inside. So that is notable. But on the flip side, our team can shoot. We have 3 guys with 80-plus ratings on jumpers. If you look at our scoring overall, Charity, who I can already tell is going to be our superstar for hopefully 4 years, he's a decent scorer here. 60 is not bad. I'll take it. I've started these teams where everybody is a 30 scoring, and I go, okay, this is going to be rough for a couple years. But this one's pretty decent. So we have some scorers on here who are also happen to be, the players that we think we can rely on. Seems like our team is pretty good at moving the ball, which I do like. Starting to get a sense of the identity of this team here, right? We can shoot, we can pass, we can score. Can we handle? We can kind of handle. Dante Waldman, he can handle. He's a senior. I'll let him handle it all. That's about it. So this isn't a team that's really going to be creating off the dribble. It's not a team that's going to be scoring inside, but it is a team that's going to be able to light it up from outside. I think this is the type of Hawaii team I was hoping for. If you look, do we have any good rebounders? We certainly do. We certainly do. In fact, all of our best players are excellent on the boards relative to, Hawaii. Same thing with defense. We don't really need to sort that. Defensive rebounding per se, but defense itself, okay, Charity has earned his spot on the court as the starter, no doubt. Good passer, good shooter, good defender. Love seeing that. Rest of the team, this could be tough. So I'm thinking this is probably going to be an up-tempo team, taking advantage of the three-point shots where we can, and maybe trying to speed up our opponents a little bit, force some turnovers. Like I said, when I do these, I like to have teams that are high possession and let them do what they can with that. So I think that's a pretty good sense of what our team is. The other thing I do like to sort by is athleticism, and it kind of gives me a sense, okay, is this a team that I can really push? Can we have that high defensive intensity? Can we create a little bit more for ourselves? Can we be menaces on defense? And I think we're going to be able to. So this is shaping up pretty nicely. The one thing you don't want to forget about when you're looking at the roster is this little drop down here. So you can view ratings and also view bio. So let's sort by our overall here and see just how tall these guys are. So Charity, 6'7", decent for a power forward here. But we have a 6'8" small forward. So it does create kind of an interesting lineup dynamic here. I wonder if these two are going to be able to be interchangeable at the forward spots, especially because their weight's pretty similar too. Looks like our point guards are pretty decently sized here. We don't have anybody on the roster taller than 6'9". So that is not what you love to see. But how are we doing academically? Ooh. That is also not what you love to see. You don't like to see some of your key rotation guys flirting with their grade point average around a 2. We don't want them to be academically ineligible right in the middle of a tournament run. So that's not great. So we're probably going to have to get on these guys to hit the books, which is making me regret a little bit putting a low emphasis on academics for this coach, but I got to be true to who I am here. So we've checked out our rosters a bit. We don't have to set our lineups now. I know it can be tempting to set your lineup right away, but it's May 1st. I think we can calm down a bit. We don't have to figure out who our starting point guard is, who our starting small forward is right now. I kind of have an idea. I kind of think, based on what we've looked at, I have a feeling Charity is going to be our starting 3 or 4. You got to think Todd Willis is going to be involved here. Victor Willis, any relation here to Todd? Let's just say they are. The Willis brothers, probably going to be starting Victor here. He's the only center that seems like he's worth his weight, and what a weight he's got here. But we don't have to figure that out right now. If you do have the itch to do it, by all means, hop right into the depth chart, tinker with all this, get this ready on May 1st. But again, can't stress enough, it's May 1st. We have other things to deal with, most notably recruiting and cutting players and red shirts and all that stuff. A lot of things that could affect this depth chart that you're seeing right now. So don't be in a rush to set your depth chart would be one of my early recommendations. And speaking of red shirts and cutting players, that is one thing that we're going to look at, that we're going to want to look at is see, are there any players on this team that we don't really want? Because that can free up a scholarship for us, especially if you have a high recruiting ranking and you think that you can do a little better than the staff did before you. You do lose prestige every time you cut a player, a scholarship player, but sometimes it is worth it to free up that extra scholarship and put your own stamp on the program, especially if you're taking one over from scratch and really wanting to kind of build it out in your own image. So we're going to leave it alone for now. I do have my eye on Randy Brown here. He's going to have to earn his keep on the team. But for now, we'll let everybody enjoy their time at the Hawaii Spartans. And we'll move on over to strategy, which is the next place that I recommend going when you start a new association. So you should go to roster, check your emails, and go on over to strategy here. So let's see what my guys are good at. Now this what do you want to call it, this graphic here, this is new, I think, as of last year. And it does such a great job of just aesthetically laying out what all of my players are knowledgeable in. So I'm looking right here for my offensive sets. It looks like all the guys know the motion offense pretty well. We have a few freshmen that are learning it, and that's fine. Freshmen are as freshmen are. But everybody else seems pretty well equipped with the motion offense. A little less so with the flex, but still workable, manageable. And then the Princeton offense, which I always find to be an interesting alternative, either as my primary offense if I take over a team that has a really nice passing big man, or if I feel like I have one of those guys, maybe he's the sixth man off the first guy off the bench, he's my sixth man, or I just have different kind of sets that I want to throw at the opponent. I do like to integrate a little bit of Princeton sometimes, but only if I have the roster to make it work. I'm not sure if I really do. I like to have a better center when I run the Princeton, because as you look here, all of these are laid out. You can get a little explanation of what you want. And the Princeton, a good passing center, is crucial to the success of this offense, as well as well-trained players making good cuts. We do have a somewhat athletic team that isn't great at ball handling, so the Princeton might be a good fit for us, especially freeing up some shots from the outside. But I'm not sure if this Willis brother, 43 passing, I mean, it's okay. It's not the worst. I would want a little bit better, but we'll see. Maybe we can integrate this a little bit. This is also something you don't have to figure out right now. You don't have to figure out what your main set is going to be. And in fact, it doesn't even have to be one of these. You could use the entire summer trying to teach all your players your offense or your defense. But it is good to see we do have a foundation in the motion, which is a pretty standard offense that usually works with just about any team. And some flex in Princeton here. I was kind of hoping that they would have a little 5-out knowledge, and maybe we'd be able to sneak a center, a good shooting center with all the good outside shooters that we have. But I don't think that we're going to be able to swing that. So just based on my gut here and knowing what I do about the flex, which is you really need everybody to be a good ball handler, and that is not what describes these Hawaii Spartans. So the flex, before I forget, no flex. We're trashing the flex. That is not something we're going to run. And yeah, we might have to be a motion team. It's not fun, but that might have to be how we start. And then defense. And yes, okay, this is Christmas morning for me right here. So I know I'm new. I know you guys don't know my coaching preferences yet, but I am a very vocal advocate for the 1-3-1 defense. I have been running the 1-3-1 defense in this game for 8 years. I love the 1-3-1. If you haven't played it before, it's a very high risk, high reward defense. Forces a lot of turnovers. Really, it speeds up your opponent, gets them out of their play, and puts you as the aggressors on defense. Which, if you can attack on offense and attack on defense, you're probably going to be in a pretty good spot. So this is one of the only times I've actually started with a team that knew the 1-3-1 right off the bat. And they honestly, some of these guys know it even better than they do their man-to-man. So this is definitely a good sign to start. Before I forget here, and again, you don't have to do this right now. You have months and months and months. You have till September, October to really figure this out. But I'm just going to do that so I don't forget, and to let the players know, hey, keep this in mind. We're going to be a 1-3-1 team, so you guys better start hitting the books, especially those of you that don't really hit the books otherwise, those 2.2s. So now that we've checked out strategy, the next thing that you should check out before you hop into recruiting, and this is something that I think a lot of players, even veteran players, forget to do on their first, once they open up a new save, is to check your coaching staff. This is the one time that during the year that you can replace any of these coaches without a financial penalty. This is essentially coach trading time, right? This is the carousel. We're hopping in late, but I just got hired, so now's the time to replace any of my assistants. So we'll check to see how good these guys are, and they are not great. Reputation of 19 is pretty standard baseline level reputation. I'm not sure what kind of shenanigans he got into as a coach to have such a bad reputation, but his skills, pretty ho-hum here. He's sort of a jack of no trades and a master of none. So this could be a potential replacement situation. especially because he's making $66,000 a year to be a replacement level coach. This guy, Derek Adams, he really is an unknown, and he's not good at anything. So that's not great. And then Jake Phillips, I don't have high hopes for the third assistant based on the first two. And there it is. All right, so we have our work cut out for us on the coaching front. So we have to remember this guy's a 19 reputation, and the thing that he's best at, I guess, is defense and recruiting, kind of a low 40s for each one. So let's take a look at what we're working with in the coaching pool. So sort by reputation, 19 is as good as we're going to be able to get. But look at this. Peter Harrison, 62 years old, bring a nice veteran flair to this young coaching staff. He's got 40, 43, 35. Well, I mean, is that really better than what we have? I don't know if it is. I'm not sure if I'm super inspired by Peter Harrison. Kind of a dark graph on dark background there, so you can't fully see it, but you can see down here, 43 recruiting, 40 offensive skill. Is that enough to really rock the boat? I mean, especially because he's the highest reputation guy left, so he's probably going to want some money. Let's see. Is there anybody that we can specialize in with recruiting? Now, this is interesting. Stephen Penn, 42 years old, high ambition guy, love it. High academics. All right, you can counterbalance a little bit. Maybe I'll sick you on the 2-3 guys. And not great in terms of coaching the fundamentals of the game, scouting, player development. Look, this is a specialist guy at recruiting. And you guys know I love recruiting specialists. So that is very interesting to me. And in fact, I'm very, very, very tempted to tell our poor friend, Jeff Prado, that he is an unemployed man. I think it's time to do that. So you go ahead and fire Jeff Prado. You're about to fire him. Since recruiting has not started, you will not be charged for this coach's contract. Jeff, wish you the best. Unfortunately, you no longer live in the state of Hawaii, so you're going to have to break that to your family and friends. And let's see if we can get our recruiting specialist here. So, Stephen Penn, I would like to hire you. I hope that you're interested in joining us. I would like to extend a warm welcome to this man, hire you as the first assistant. $65,000 a year for someone who has never, ever heard of an offensive set. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that. So, welcome to the team, Stephen Penn. You are going to be a specialist in recruiting, and just hopefully none of the recruits ask you anything about basketball. Derek Adams here, I mean, look, we're not going to get that much better. I mean, he's not great, sure, kind of 25s across the board. But if you look at what's available for people that are actually willing to take a job as a second assistant, well, maybe we could. Maybe we could. Could we get a nice little scouting specialist here? 62? I mean, he's going to want probably some money here, but I'll have to fire him if I want to go ahead and make some financial demands from this guy. This is tempting. This is very tempting. Neither of these two tempt me. They're not really great at anything in particular. I don't think we need to rock the boat for that. But Desmond Dickenman. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, Desmond. Desmond Dickenman. This might have to be our new coach. We just came in. We're changing the culture at Hawaii. We're no longer settling for mediocrity. I'm sorry, Derek Adams. You are paid really an exorbitant amount of money for how little you do. And you're our scouting coach. And you're not good at scouting. So scout this. Bye-bye. Hope you can scout some real estate stateside. So let's see. Go back here. Find everybody who's willing to take a job as a second assistant. Here's my man Desmond. Second assistant, $43,000. Hey, that works for me. Welcome to the team, Desmond. We're starting from scratch. And you know what? We already hired two new guys. Jake from Honolulu. Your time here has been valued, but You really don't know. And also, you're my practice coach, and you rarely run zone. I know that doesn't really matter, but it's a philosophical difference that I can't get past. So we're going to go ahead and fire you. I don't even know if we have a good replacement for you, but this is how things roll in Hawaii. We act quick. And see who is willing to take this job. So sort by reputation. Reputation is important in terms of, I know you kind of want to look at these skills and see, all right, what is he actually good at doing? But reputation does just sort of elevate the profiles, so to speak, of these coaches, which does help in trying to get recruits in here and actually get them to buy into the program. So we look at this guy right here, Mike Worley. He's a scouting specialist as well. We feel pretty comfortable with scouting. Right now, I want somebody who's actually going to be good at offense or defense, and particularly defense. I love to build my teams on the defensive side of the ball, run that 1-3-1 zone, get a lot of turnovers, create opportunities for myself. So this guy right here, Thomas Jackson, 45 defense, not good anywhere else. In fact, just about as bad as you could be at everything other than coaching defense. It's almost as if he's never seen an offensive set, which makes me question his defense. But I think we can make this work here. It's either going to be him or it's going to be Quadre. But I don't know if I really believe in the vision of Quadre here. Let's see. Thomas Jackson. It's another never zoner, but look, I think I can bring him around. I think I can let him know we are a zone team, and you're going to have to teach our guys how to run the zone. That is what we do in Hawaii. And if he's willing to take the money, welcome to the team, Thomas Jackson. So now that we have our staff all set up, we can go up here to the coaching assignments page. Now this is another one of those things. It's May 1st, so don't feel any pressure to do this, but this is a pretty simple thing. I do just like to do this from the beginning and kind of set it. Well, actually, this is crucial to do right now because you want to make sure your recruiting guy's in the right spot. But fortunately, he is. I mean, we hired him to be our number one guy. He's doing recruiting. He's doing scouting. He's doing practice. Looks good to me. I'm not sure if we're going to win many games this year, but our recruiting is going to be on point, and our scouting is going to also be very effective here. So I think if the AD just gives me 2 or 3 years to really get this thing settled, I think we're going to have a winner on the Big Island here. So once you've finalized your coaching staff and you have an idea of your roster's strengths and weaknesses, you're essentially ready to start recruiting. So you can come up here to the left and you can buy reports and kind of get into that whole thing and set your recruiting board. But that is where we're going to stop right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode of Draft Day Dynasties. We ran a little later than we were going to, but I wasn't expecting to have to hire an entire new coaching staff. So hopefully you guys appreciated being along for the journey here and checking out this first episode of Draft Day Dynasties, which we're going to try to run every week around this time. So set your clocks for Thursday, 8 p.m. We'll let you know if that changes, but for now, that's the plan, is to do these every week. And at least for the next few weeks to run with these Hawaii Spartans here and see if we can get a 3-point machine here and maybe snag a couple, 3-4-star recruits if we can. We'll see. Get a little frisky in Honolulu. So be sure to let us know what you thought of this stream and the game itself on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Discord, Slack, and of course our official Wolverine Studios forums. And if you ever want to reach out to me directly, you can find me here on Twitch, obviously. I'm also on Twitter at CJacksonCowart. I'm on the Discord, CJacksonCowart, poking around there. Some of you probably already said hi to me there. Same with the Slack. And I am anywhere on the Wolverine Studios forum. So if you post a question there within hopefully a day or two, probably less than that, I'll be able to get back to you there. So reach out to me. Let me know what you thought of this stream. Anything you want to add, change. Any ideas you have maybe for what you think I should do with this roster? Anybody you think I should cut, or if you have any suggestions for kind of how I should shape this starting lineup here. We'll get into that in a later stream, but if you're just chomping at the bit, be sure to reach out to me there. Thank you all for watching this stream. It was fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, and we will catch you on the next one.